I used to fight all the time with everything, and I thought that was really cool. It's kind of like a thing that if you fight, then that means you're fighting in passion and you can get whatever you want because you're showing everybody that you are passionate about what you're doing and that that's really cool. And I'd find myself fighting with people in my life because I was passionate and I was right. Business, I wanted my body to hurt. That meant that I worked really hard for the day. And if my body didn't hurt, I would actually get depressed thinking, was I being lazy today? Why does my body not hurt? Shouldn't it be hurting because I didn't work hard enough? You know, you hear people say like you want to wring yourself out with all that pain. And if it's the right good speech, it's going to get you motivated. You're going to be like, yeah. But then you realize that in the background, you get a little overly tired. You can't get yourself up out of the ground. Like you literally are just like a mesh of water and yuckiness that you can't even get yourself up because you're tearing yourself up. You forgot what your spirit is in this body, and your body really wants to be taken care of. And the more that I found myself in this story, discovering that I believed if you wrench and if you work really hard, everybody's going to acknowledge you, and that acknowledgement is going to be powerful and to blend with everybody because that means you're doing it right. And if you don't blend with people, then there's something wrong. Put that mask on because everybody's looking at you differently. They don't accept you for who you are. So keep working hard. Keep moving. Don't stop. If you stop, there's too much time that's going to pass. That's how I used to live my life all the time. Some of those nuggets are throughout what I said. I really thought that was the formula. What do you think about that? Can I give you another idea that I have in this Truth Friday? I would love to share. So when I ended up on thyroid medicine at 29, around that time, I was waitressing, working a lot of hours. I was living on my own, so alone in an apartment that had a pool and all that kind of fun stuff. I needed the money, but I also wanted that lifestyle while I was going to school. And I was successful at what I was doing. And so waitressing, I was teaching step, kickboxing, all those different things in the gym. And then I was also going to school. So full time. I had no time for anything because I was studying or I was doing all of that. So I'd go to school, then I would go and teach like a step class, kickboxing, whatever, do homework. That's if I had the energy because the cycle that I was doing was not so supporting of that. And then I would go to work. And then after work, I would study or hang out with people. And I'd stay up till about 2, something like that. Get back in, be at class by 8 or 9, usually about 8. Because I'm an early morning person and I was expecting myself to be in class. And what I learned along the way, just having a schedule like that, is I was very proud of myself that I had all these things going. I was doing all this stuff. On the outside, it looked successful. Nobody knew, not even myself, how deeply I was lost in trying to play the game that I didn't have to. Like on the outside, my body looked really good because I was working out. deep inside, I was just shredding myself up. Like inside, I felt frazzled and shaked and maybe hard to focus. So how that affected me was that I couldn't really focus on a really good conversation. I was just concerned about everything. I couldn't focus on school and really be there for myself as a student. I was paying for it. Nobody else was paying for it. They were not telling me what to do. I had to buckle up and grow up to figure out how to graduate. But I was playing this vicious game, and somebody lovely came into my life and helped me understand that sleep was important so I could get to the next level. Let me go down that route. I'm going to go down the route of love because I want to. How are you doing this morning? This isn't our Truth Friday, and I really do want to speak truth to your day, even if it's not a Friday and you're watching it, on another day. So I knew it was important to finish school. But I was at myself. All I did was hurt myself. I didn't really stop and tell myself I loved myself. I knew that if I struggled more and more, that was just normal. That's what life is. You're supposed to struggle. So I never stopped to see the easy road. I would just keep hitting my head against the wall, knowing what I wanted to get to, but not really listening. What's a better route to do it? And I'd always go the hardest route, because if you work really hard, then you're not being lazy. And it's totally different than what I think now. So I would have to take classes over and over. And some I would pass. But it was hard to study and focus because I was always exhausted. Because I was always doing stuff. I was always moving. And I thought that's what life was. And I didn't have a lot of people around me that I knew, like in my family and stuff, of examples of going to school and the balance to be able to go to school and be driven with scholastics, which is fine. I'm just saying I'm trying to discover out there myself. Don't give myself direction, because there's nothing wrong with how I was raised. So in the way of poor me. So this person comes into my life, Jeff Liebig, who I'm married to now, and he had this life that was so boring. Totally not. That's where my brain was, though. Anybody else notice that if you're all in the crazy, the people that aren't in the crazy, they seem kind of boring? So Jeff was. He wasn't in the crazy. I thought he was boring, but I really liked him because when he was with me, he was lots of fun. This is where I thought he was boring. He wanted to go to bed early. That totally depressed me. He taught me that sleep is really important. Taking care of your body is important. I was already working out. That's taking care of yourself. Well, at least I thought so. But there were many components missing. One of them was that I was not being nice to myself. I kept beating myself up. Inside, I had a vicious cycle that was just jabbering at me nonstop about being lazy, about, you got to work out, about not gaining any weight, about eating little, because if you don't look successful on the outside, that means you'll never be successful. That's what that means. Anybody else feel that ever? Or maybe you're fighting it right now? Wow, yeah. So I start sleeping, which I'm very upset about, by the way, going to bed at 9 when I'm going to bed usually at 10, 12, 1, whatever. And I have anxiety, and I'm laying there and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so hard to sleep. And this is the point when I'm very young where I'm like, whatever Jeff does, I'm going to do, because he's my boyfriend, and so that's what you do, is whatever somebody's doing, you just follow it, And so I started sleeping, and I started feeling even more powerful, than before. The change that didn't happen, though, was that I kept beating myself up and thinking my body had to hurt. And so then I ended up on thyroid medicine because I just wouldn't stop. Even though I started sleeping more, everything else was just still this show of craziness. So in my life, I have felt sick many times. Have you had those points where you just work yourself so hard, or you put yourself in some crazy situation where you don't let yourself be? You nitpick yourself, you tell yourself not to sit down, and if you sit down, then you may sit down because you're so exhausted. You may even fall asleep because you're exhausted, but you're really not resting when you sit down because you're at yourself. You can't find a spot to sit down and relax. I'm going to jump to when I had my kids. I can remember looking at my daughter. She was probably 17. And I saw her roll into her bed and just all of a sudden relax. And it was confusing for me. So all this healing stuff I've been doing throughout all the years, because my daughter right now is 19, so this is not that long ago when I started noticing this. But I saw how relaxed she was, and I was like, here, there's something at the next layer I want to grow into. And at this point, I've already started opening up my heart, sharing with people how much I love them, and really stepping into who I was. I think I'll be talking about this stuff if I live to be 70, 100, 300. Because there's ever evolving space for us. So I see her relax. I'm like, how do I get on my pillow and lay down? How come I don't look like that? How come I don't look relaxed, but my body, like I'm in bed, I'm trying to sleep, I'm fighting my sleep. Here I am trying to sleep, and my body's like kind of more stiff. Like, how come I can't just let it go? And I had this boyfriend one time, Mark, tell me, Rhonda, relax. Relax. Like, he was I think so many people thought this about me. Relax. Like, he'd like even try to massage my back, and I'd just be like, you see that difference? And I'd be like, well, I don't know how to relax, I was just like, even if I was sitting, I was just ready to rock. And I was just energy and bouncing and craziness. Well, I probably drove some people crazy because I couldn't relax. I could giggle and have fun and people had fun with me, but I wouldn't let myself be. So watching my daughter do that, it really changed something for me there, where I recognized that there's something else in this life that I didn't know was available for me. And that was to allow things to, like, just be themselves, allow things to be. Instead of fretting and pushing and pulling on things, that I literally lived this life in focus of what I am doing here. Right here, as a person that speaks, as a person that helps people open up their voice and share stories so that we can transform the energy in the air. We don't have to fight and hold on to things and try and control stuff. And I started noticing that my body started letting go, and all of a sudden I could walk and I could feel the flow in my body. And my body's been getting healthier and healthier, instead of uptight and intense and just, like, need to know what my day is and understanding those things. Now I'm like, not having to talk unless there's a space there that I'm supposed to talk, not fighting with everybody, looking at people, trying to change them, but give vision of what life is and living with that. Are you looking for transformation? Are you looking what I call mindset transformation entertainment? like that entertainment in the mind. Would you be looking for that? And if you are, think about my story and how that probably, some of that parallels with you about wanting to change something, whatever that is, and show up in a different way. But whatever you're doing now, there's nothing wrong with it. It's, the first thing is not to shame yourself and think that you should show up in a different way than what you do. No, I was on a client call yesterday, and this is big. I tell my client that she's nice, and then we're going on with the conversation, and she said, Rhonda, I stopped. I couldn't hear that other stuff. You told me that I was nice. And I was like, oh, yeah, I mean, she said, and I said, oh, you mean you don't think you're nice? And she told me reasons why, and I was like, well, that's the way you're showing up, but, you know, there's some atmosphere things that are going on that are affecting that, you know, the way you're showing up, but it doesn't mean you're not nice. You love to giggle, you smile, you have this wonderful, generous heart. There's so much about you that you're at yourself. So any situation that you're in, you're thinking that you're affecting something that's not very positive, and you're at yourself. And think about if you could start seeing yourself in a new light and have bigger conversations with people when they're not showing up in a way that could be affecting the atmosphere around you. And then she goes, well, what if I get called out on my stuff? Because we're not perfect, you know. It's like we get, like, okay, if I call somebody else out, what am I going to do? You know, because they're going to call me out. And I said, you're ready for that conversation. And it may be that you were getting affected by the atmosphere, and you can say, well, when you were doing this, this, and this, I could feel that, and I need to, you know, share that with you more. So then, you know, because it's really, I'm just kind of, I have all your energy just kind of flowing in me. It starts stressing me out, so I need to learn how to manage myself too. But yeah, that's why I was showing up that way. Or you don't know why, but you're just like, oh, okay, I was having a moment. I'm sorry. And then you get to move forward, but then both of you get to grow. So I think about these things is, what can I carry in and heal and learn myself, so then I get to be the best person around that I can be for myself and for my family and just for the atmosphere. As a speaker, someone that believes in hashtag speaker locking arms, that we really are here to lock arms, to be able to support one another, even if we don't know each other. I tell you all the time that I love you. And I'm not looking at myself, I'm looking right here. If we keep opening our heart, these stories and the way that we showed up and what we're learning about it, so that we can translate it, so that we know that we're good people. Because all you're going to see is all your past stuff that really doesn't mean anything today, because maybe you're showing up nice, but you keep telling yourself that you're not very nice. Hey, look at that. I got a flute. So what do you want to do with this today? I did a meditation. It was about, you know, like stepping out of your tunnel vision and really opening up to being inspired. What do you want to do with that? What do you think is the right thing to do for you? What's the right thing for you? What do you need in your atmosphere? What do you want to start communicating to others, to yourself, so that you can be the best person ever, that you feel comfortable with yourself and you allow yourself to make mistakes, because it's fabulous to make mistakes, because you go, I just treated somebody really, really bad and I feel yucky. But you don't go in the shame and tear yourself up. You go right to that person and say, sorry. That should not have happened. I was not in alignment. I'm working through some things, but I want to be more aware of who I am and what I'm doing. So isn't that awesome? Isn't that awesome? Yes, we can do this together. We can get this rocking. Let's make sure that we stop fighting in our atmosphere. We start being love bugs so that we can change this world. If we want to change this world, that means that we need to clean up our crap. And that doesn't mean you can't be out there creating havoc, because sometimes it just happens as human beings. But letting yourself off the hook, allowing yourself to be, to stop torturing yourself because you think that you have to be in this tunnel vision of stopping yourself from, like, you want to hide because you just did something really bad, maybe. But being bad really is about being human. So you allow yourself to be human. You allow yourself to go to people and have these conversations instead of being ashamed and coil back and fight with everybody in your head. But you literally are there, opening your heart. You don't have to tell everybody all the bad things they're doing. You don't have to talk about everybody about all the bad things, that everybody else is doing. What you want is to allow yourself off the hook, so you allow everybody else off the hook. And if there's people treating people bad, then don't be around them. Why would you be around anybody that does any of this stuff anymore? Be around people that give love to people, that stop fighting, that evolve and start creating something in their life that is in everybody else's stuff. The way we heal is to come back to ourselves and say, I love you. I have some plaques over here. We're doing a class next Friday. This is in the safety pillar. On the safety pillar, love you. There's 5 steps to get to safety. If we have freedom, safety, and healing, safety is one of them. Safety in your life. When you don't feel safe, it's because you're at yourself saying all these things about you. So what if you just start saying, love you? That means, I love you in sign language. I'm going to put a link so that you know how to get into a class I'm going to have on Friday, next Friday. This class is about having safety in your life. And if you do a couple steps every day in that safety pillar, you're going to walk out of your house breathing, not being hard on yourself, knowing that you are in the best alignment that you know to be in right here and now. That's all. You can't promise anything, but you can keep doing your work and keep learning about yourself. When you start learning about yourself, there's some good things that happen out of it. Some good things. So, I didn't know I was going to play the flute today. I didn't know I was going to pull this out. Sign up for my class. We're going to do the safety pillar. We're going to do a mastery collaboration class where we get to really see each other eye to eye, create a safe space, create, if you have more safety in your life, what that would look like. I would love that. I love you. Have an insightful Friday. Have an insightful day. It doesn't matter when you get this. Every day is a Friday. Appreciate you. Namaste.